All right, and you guys can't stop asking questions about sports gambling. We're following your clicks and curiosity, and it looks like you guys want to know about the latest investigations and what to know as people question the integrity of American sports. So let's break it down. We've got our Peter Charalambous up first, and then David Purdum. Fellas, thank y'all so much for joining us. Let's start with the investigations into athletes accused of sports gambling and conspiracy. Peter is following the latest for us. Man, I need you to lay the foundation here because it feels like every day there's just another athlete that's under fire for gambling-related allegations. Here in New York, there are new developments in the federal NBA insider gambling case involving NBA veteran Terry Rozier. A judge is now accusing one of the defendants of trying to obstruct justice and tamper with witnesses. What's the latest there, Peter?
Yeah, and at this point, De Niro Laster, a childhood friend of his, is being held in custody after a judge probed allegations that he was engaged in witness tampering. All of this centered around two different allegations. The first, that Laster contacted one of his co-defendants in this case, urged him not to cooperate with prosecutors. In a different instance, he allegedly contacted one of the witnesses in the case and sent them a rat emoji. Prosecutors alleged that it was a kind of veiled threat. His lawyers tried to push back on this, describing it as a rat cartoon, downplaying that this was an attempt to impact that witness's testimony. The judge totally unconvinced by that argument. In fact, actually accusing his lawyer of mansplaining in court. His bail was revoked. He was ordered into custody. He's currently at MDC, the Federal Detention Center in Brooklyn.
Really is just unbelievable. And let's sort of head over to another case. In June, former Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley was charged in Brooklyn, New York, with conspiracy and bribery related to point shaving and insider prop bet manipulation. He's pleaded not guilty, but where do things stand with his case? Is he saying anything, and do we know where he's playing?
Yeah, his lawyers are denying wrongdoing. They say an indictment is not proof of any kind of wrongdoing here, and saying that they're going to fight this case. He was released on a $100,000 bond that was actually co-signed by his parents. All of the allegations here center on 4 different games where he's accused of actually manipulating his own performance in order to help people who were betting on his own games. At this point, even though he made over $60 million in his career, prosecutors say he accrued millions of dollars in debt. Because of those debts, he agreed to start manipulating his performance across those 4 games in exchange for getting some bribes or having some of that money basically discounted from his gambling debt. At this point, he's beginning to receive evidence ahead of a possible trial. Again, his lawyer denies any kind of wrongdoing and is vowing to fight these allegations.
Wow. And Peter, I just want to head over to football because this case just lives rent-free in my head. Where do things stand with Brendan Sorsby's college gambling investigation after the NFL actually finally denied his application for a supplemental draft? Has he entered a plea? Do we think he'll ever play football again? What do we know about that?
At this point, he's given up hope on playing in 2026. He's looking to the future. He's looking towards the 2027 draft, and he's trying to frame all of this as a positive, saying he did have a problem. He acknowledges he made more than $90,000 in bets, including at least 40 on his own games, and that he needs to improve. He's going to focus on himself over the next year and look forward over to the 2027 draft. No chance of him playing this year.
Peter, some feeling in me feels like this is just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you so much for breaking this down for us. Let's now bring in ESPN sports betting reporter David Purdum. David, thank you for joining us, man. We've heard from Peter just a slew of the cases that have been going on, and we've seen multiple professional athletes under fire in headlines for sports gambling. That's before and after the Supreme Court ruled to allow widespread legal sports betting in states across the country in 2018. And now with the rise of prediction markets, people are searching. Do you feel like integrity in American sports is in the crosshairs?
Yes, certainly it has been. Bad actors have targeted professional and collegiate athletes in these betting schemes. We've seen schemes built around players manipulating their performance so the bettors could wager on things like the under on their points, rebounds, and assists in basketball, or even in baseball, whether an individual pitch will be a ball or a strike. Now, almost all of these schemes, though, that have led to these federal charges took place 2 and 3 years ago. Since those cases have been revealed and publicized, the amount of suspicious activity has decreased significantly, according to sportsbook sources and kind of firms that monitor the betting market. So it's possible that we're seeing a little bit of a deterrent effect taking place. People are learning that if you attempt these types of schemes, authorities are watching, they can identify them, and it can lead to the end of careers and potential criminal penalties, including lengthy prison sentences.
Yeah, and David, this seems all the while several leagues actually benefit financially from these partnerships with sportsbooks. So how is this different from individual players benefiting from gambling themselves? I mean, we talk about the integrity of the game, but how can their employers be making money off these platforms when the players aren't allowed to, right?
You nailed it. It's the money is the biggest difference between these deals with the leagues and then the individual players. Revenue generated from the league partnerships with betting operators, it's divided between the league and the players with the splits kind of collectively bargained. Now, the players almost certainly would make more money, however, if they were to engage in individual sponsorship deals with betting companies. And from the players' perspective, they feel like they deserve it because they're taking all the negatives from the betting, right? Such as the abuse they receive from angry gamblers at arenas on social media. So they're arguing that, hey, we should get a bigger cut or be allowed to do these individual sponsorship deals.
And David, you've got your eye closer to this than pretty much anybody. Do you think leagues are doing enough to police this internally, or has legalized betting created an integrity problem that sports organizations just simply weren't prepared to handle once the floodgates opened?
I'm going to defend the leagues here because I think they are doing what they can in terms of educating the players of what they can and can't do. They monitor for these violations of the gambling policy, and then they penalize players that cross that line. Jonte Porter, a relatively unknown NBA player, was banned for the league after he was found to have participated in an alleged betting scheme. So that's the strongest punishment you could possibly hand out. Now, the other side of that, I do think the betting operators can be doing more to protect the integrity of sports. And that goes by keeping the limits that people can bet lower, especially on those most vulnerable wagers. If people aren't able to make big scores on betting schemes, there really isn't as much incentive to try them.
Feels like the world of sports is just about as different as ever with the floodgates of gambling open. David, thank you so much for your reporting and kind of catching us up to speed on all this.